My beautiful bookish loves, welcome back to my channel. It's been a minute. It's been a couple months. My last video was in September, and before that, my last video was a couple months before that, and then before that. But I feel like every time I say I'm gonna try to be more present here, life is like, no, you're not, bitch. So I had like a good 3 videos planned for September, and that was not that did not happen, obviously. But that is my New Year's goal. My New Year's goal is to be more present here and to make more videos exclusively for BookTube. So if you guys got any good vibes, send them my way, please. So this video is gonna be what I would have done in September, which would be a Sapphic September post. So we'll just do Sapphic September in November because, right, Sapphic all year, yay. On Instagram, I follow a Sapphic September bingo page. So I knew that I wanted to, make the bingo and all that stuff and join the giveaway, blah, 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 all that stuff, right? But I knew that I needed to stick to shorter reads because as much as I really want to read Priori of the Orange Tree, hopefully I said Priori right. I knew that if you haven't seen that book, she's a big baby. If I stuck to that one, I was only going to read the one. And I'm on top of that, I'm also reading like 6 other books. I was reading 6 other books at a time then, and I'm still reading 6 other books now. I mean, there are other books than that one. You guys understand? I don't read one book at a time. All right. So I was sticking to like quick reads, and I'm glad that I did because it was fun, and I crammed a bunch of Sapphic books into my face. Yay. And I made the bingo and all that. But I'm going to give you the books that I read from September until now. And some of them are a little bigger and some of them, but a lot of them are going to be just quick reads that if you're looking for something quick to end off the year, maybe you're trying to meet a goal or something like that, these will be great for that. Unfortunately, only one of them I have in physical copy, a paper copy. All the other ones I want to mention are ebooks, which is great. I love ebooks. My Paperwhite is with me everywhere. She's right there. She's always with me. I love ebooks. But when you love a book, I want to hold it. But anyways, let's get started. This first author, I read both of her books. Anita Zara is her name. And the books are The Maid's Secret. And this is a gothic monster romance. And the other book was My Carmilla. I enjoyed both, but I'm going to have to say that I enjoyed The Maid's Secret just a little bit more, which was really a surprise because I'm no longer into like books with like poly relationships or wide shoes. There's nothing wrong with them, and I read them a lot in my 20s. It's no longer my jam. I'd really rather the one-on-one, but this one, I enjoyed it. And it has basically, it's 2 females and then the male who's a monster. And then My Carmilla is a Carmilla retelling. And I enjoyed it. And I'm going to be real honest with you guys. I don't remember if I read Carmilla or not. And if I did read it, I read it 30 plus years ago, probably at a time, well, not probably, at a time when I shouldn't have been reading it. And I simply cannot remember. But I know what it is. If you guys don't, it is a vampire novel. It actually came out before Dracula. And this one is just, this author's retelling of that. And again, those are both good reads. Next up, Captive in the Underworld by Lianyu Tan. This is a Sapphic, well, they're all Sapphic. Hades and Persephone retelling. Check your triggers for this. Well, check your triggers for the other 2 as well. But for this one, really check your triggers. This one caught me off guard because sometimes you read the blurb and my brain was like, oh, this is going to be, just a hot book. It's just going to be hot. It's going to be smutty. I'm going to read it. I'm going to love it. I'm going to go, I am a complete slut for Hades and Persephone in many versions. I love the retellings. I don't always love the version an author does of them because there's plenty where I'm just like, this didn't hit. But I always give them a shot, always. This one it was a lot deeper and a lot more emotional, and it was really dark. And I just wasn't expecting that. Even, yes, I did read the triggers, but it just wasn't because my brain was like, this is gonna be easy. I'm gonna be all right. I wasn't. Now I loved it. That's not what I'm saying. it was more than what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be just a vapid read and I was going to dump it and go on to the next. That is not what happened. Not at all. Sink Into Her by Elaine J. Daniels. This one, my sister found this one for me. This was cute. I love this one. This one had a female Kraken, which was my first time reading that. Now, one of my favorite, like in the monster tropes, one of my favorite monsters is the Kraken. You guys, you see my ring, it is a tentacle. The second one is Basilisk. This one's really cute because it was Grumpy Sunshine. I love Grumpy Sunshine, but it wasn't the Kraken. That was the grumpy one. It was the human. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was cute. My sister saw the cover and she was like, you'll like this one. And I did. I did love it off bat. That was a great read. This one, oh, these were fun. Is a 6-book series. It's called the Club Surrender series by Reba Bale. Now these are, like I said, there were 6 books. They're all insta love because the books averaged somewhere between like 90 and 100 pages. Maybe some had like 80 or something like that. But like, you guys get it. Like, they averaged about 100 pages. Not very long. So it is insta love. They were very steamy. Very much. I enjoyed that about it. My favorite thing about this, that the world it was set in, it's like a light BDSM club, but it's owned by a woman and the members are only women. So all the doms and all that stuff, on subs, it's all women. So I was like, oh, that was fun. This was a fun read. I enjoyed every couple, and like, it was all intertwined, right? Everyone, they ended up in like a happy ever after, and they all knew each other in some way. Like, the couples that were meeting up, like, they had some sort of past, maybe, sort of, or they knew someone else in the club, vice versa, like all that stuff. Like I said, quick read, insta love. And if you're like, oh, you're talking about the insta love, I'm like, it would be, because again, it's not very long. But I thoroughly enjoyed being in this world. Honestly, I kind of wish it was a little bit longer. Next one, Crossed Over by Santana Knox. It was my first Santana Knox book. I have been dying to read one. The ebook went on sale. So I was like, this is a good shot. And I knew this one was Sapphic. This is another one. I don't know why I tell my brain this. I don't know why I tell my brain this. I don't know why I do this to myself. Where I'm like, this is going to be just a quick, smutty book. Lies. This book had me crying. I cried. It was, check your triggers. Like, the ending of this book left me with a very much, what the fuck just happened? Now, there's another book. I found out there was another book after this, and I'm not quite sure, like, what it is. Someone ringing my bell? This is an inappropriate time for someone to be ringing my bell. Someone was ringing my bell. I mean, it happens, I guess. It's not even late. I don't like people ringing my doorbell. I was like, why? I have a ring camera. And so my phone. No one cares. I was talking about Crossed Over. Santana Knox. With the way that book ended, I don't understand what the second one could be about. And honestly, Crossed Over messed me up. Like, not in a bad way. Like, I like when books wreck me. I'm not trying to turn anyone off. I like it when books fuck me up like that. I like when they wreck me. I like when I'm in a ball in a corner and just like, why did this happen? I'm fine with it. Why have issues? It's okay. So like, I'm cool with it. I know some people aren't, but I don't know what, because it seems to be the same 2 female MCs. So what could book 2? Because of the way book 1 ended, what could book 2 be about? I don't know. But now that I'm talking about it, I'm like, I'm gonna get to it. I'm gonna read it. Also, earlier I said that The Maid's Secret is the only book that I had in like paperback. That's a lie. That's a lie. I'm reading my list. No, that's not correct. This series. This is a hard series to review because it's weird. It's called the End Song series by Sasha Stronach. The Dawn Hounds is book 1. The Sun Forge is book 2. I haven't even reviewed this book like on my other socials. It is a hard book to describe. It's a hard series to describe. Normally, if I'm not following a book, I have no problem DNFing. Okay. This was a wild trip of a book so far. The book's not done. I want to say it's a trilogy, but don't quote me on that. It's a wild trip of a book, and it takes a minute for you to understand like the world that you're in. And not because the author's doing a bad job of describing it. It's just someone back here. Here it goes. Like one of the quotes. It's a wonderful queer noir fever dream. And honestly, I don't know how to describe this book better than that. It feels like a fever dream. Like you start the book is about she's a female Sapphic, female detective, and she was a kid from the streets. She grows up. She made it to be a cop. And she was doing a patrol, whatever situation, and blank blank, one of her own offs her, right? Dead in the face. It caught her in the face. She fell. Her face went boom. But she's falling, and then she comes back. There's more to it than that. I don't want to give much else other than that away. But like that wasn't a giveaway. It's in the back. But she gets done off by one of her own. And it's a wild ride after that, but it's just I didn't if I'm gonna DNF a book it's because I don't like it, or even if I don't understand it, but like I didn't want to stop reading. It's good, but it's weird. And honestly, I got to read like 1 and 2 pretty much back to back. I feel like if I had read this one and then perhaps a year or so had passed, or maybe longer, and then I read this one, I would have been more lost. But because I read it relatively back to back, it was easier for me to keep the flow going. But yeah, I would say give these a shot, even though I'm saying like it's weird. I don't know. But there's not much more I wanted to talk about because it's hard to talk about and I don't want to give anything away. But I feel like I don't see this book ever being talked about, and I feel like people need to give this one a shot. Let's put this down. This isn't dark like all the other ones. It's the Bright Fall series by Ashley Herring Blake. I've read book 1 and book 2, which is Delilah Green Doesn't Care and Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail. I actually borrowed those 2 from the library. I currently have book 3, which is another library borrow, is Iris Kelly Doesn't Date. These are rom-com-y, not my usual type of reads. Not because I don't like them, but because I tend to gravitate, I've said this before, like I tend to gravitate toward darker reads naturally. But you know what? Like when I finally got to Delilah Green, I was like, I needed this. I needed something a little softer. And then it's not that the book is not without its, that the characters in them don't have issues, or there's not maybe slight trigger warnings like in Delilah Green. There is a parental death. It's off page and it already happened, but it's a part of what happens in the women's lives. One of the main characters, Delilah Green. And also like her stepsister, Astrid Parker. I'm saying stepsister not because that's something that matters to me, but like it's important in the book. So that's a trigger warning, and as someone who has lost a parent, that could be too much for it. Even if it's in a cutesy rom-com, like that could be too much for someone. But so far I've read the book 1 and book 2, like I said, I love them. It was so cute. Delilah Green I loved more than Astrid Parker. Astrid's book. But nonetheless, I have no doubt I'm probably gonna like Iris Kelly just as much. Rom-com, cutesy, the women, and these are all grown women too. That's another plus. Like these weren't like 19, 20-year-old. These are grown 30-year-old women with like careers, and like the other main character in that book, like she has a kid. She's a grown woman and all that business, owns a home. all that stuff. So all that was, it was just great, and it was a breath of fresh air for when you're reading really dark reads and you begin to like spiral a little bit. I was like, time to reel it back a little bit. What else? I just finished this. Last night. House of Crimson Curses. It is book 3 in the Kingdom of Immortal Lovers series by Ruby Rowe. I have loved this series. I've loved both of her series. She has the Girl Game series, and then she has this series. They're both set in like the same world. Book 1, but series 1, the Girl Game series, has human magicians type of situations, and then this series, the Kingdom of Immortal Lovers, is vampires. I've loved this series so much that my very poor self, for the first time ever, I pledged the Kickstarter, so I can't wait to show off the special editions of these books. Book 1 and book 2, House of Crimson Hearts, and then it's House of Crimson Kisses, right? We have two main characters, obviously. We have Octavia and we have Red. One is a vampire, one is a vampire hunter. In book 1, Octavia fucked up. She's the love of my life. She's a vampire. In book 2, Red fucked up. Okay? So now we have book 3. Now these books, I would say check your triggers, always check content warning, all that stuff always. Very spicy. Like book 1 was super de-duper. Okay, very much. But it's smart with plot. This book, the third book, the one I just finished last night, was such a wild ride. I was not expecting the author to kick me in the face the way she did. Because why was I crying? I was in my feels. At some point, I truly thought that she was not going to give us a happily ever after. Because when I tell you the shit hit the fan, it went everywhere. And yes, and it had its spicy moments, and it had its sad moments, and it was just, the ending was even better than I thought it was going to be because of who she gave happily ever after to. It was fantastic, and I was not expecting it. Like the other books are spicy and they're wild rides and they have action in them, so I thought this was going to be it. But this one, well, the other two, I was like, when Octavia messed up in book 1, I was like, shit, why you did that? And then when I read that in book 2, I was like, shit, why did you do that? But it wasn't like, I was very much invested, obviously invested enough to like pledge the Kickstarter before the third book was even out. So I hadn't even read it when I pledged this. I wasn't expecting this, and it was a fantastic ending to this trilogy, and she's already about to cover reveal like her next series. I'm ready. Whatever she's got, I'm with it. I don't even care. Whatever. Don't tell me the blurb. Just give me here's my money. Take my measly pennies. Next one, the Dreamers and Demons Sapphic Monster series by Darva Green. The books are She Came from the Swamp, She Came at Midnight, and She Came for Blood. The first two in this series, they were a lot shorter than the third book, which was She Came for Blood. I didn't check the page number when I read She Came for Blood. At one point I realized, I'm like, this book is going a lot longer. I really liked it. Book 1, the monster of that was a Kikimora, and then the second one was a Noknitsa. And the third one is a vampire. But I just really liked reading about monsters other than the usual that we would get, which is like vampires, werewolves, kraken, and stuff like that. I just wanted something a little different in those two. Like, I'd never heard of a Noknitsa. I knew about Kikimora, but not the other one. So that, like I said, the first two were pretty short, really sweet. I like them. The third one is the end of the series, and they're intertwined a little bit. With like the main characters are intertwined a little bit. Like they mention the other ones, but nothing. I mean, I guess you could read about in order, but I don't suggest. I suggest reading them. Swamp, Midnight, and then Blood. This one was a really short read, and honestly, I wish there was more. It was a mask for mask. And usually, you have one femme or both femmes, but in this one, both of the women were masks. And I was like, I like that. It was called Come Back by Terry Ronald. Really quick read. Really quick. And honestly, now that I'm talking about it, I'm like, I've gotta see if the author has more, because I enjoyed the writing for just as little bit. So I can't imagine um, if they have a full length book. And last but not least, Branches of Betrayal by Sarah James. I have reviewed the book one, which is Seeds of Sorrow, in a different video some months ago. Um, this was the ending of that series. So it's Seeds of Sorrow, then Branches of Betrayal. This book one, Seeds of Sorrow, ends up in a cliffhanger, and this is the right after that. I believe, I may have this wrong, but I'm like 90% positive the author was never going to give us this book. She was either going to leave it in the cliffhanger, or she was just going to continue the series with a different couple. Um, but she did it, and she gave us Branches of Betrayal, and it was a relatively quick read because she was never planning on giving us this a book, and I really really enjoyed it because I felt like they deserved their happily ever after. So I'm happy they got it. Um, and that is it. We went through the list. Those are the Sapphic books that I have read between September and November. And I feel like, now that I've said that, I feel like I'm missing some. But it's fine, because I feel like this list is pretty long. And I'll probably do more Sapphic videos. It's not the only thing I read, but for the past 2 years, I've been trying to keep when I do my, like, since I read more than one book at once, I've been trying to keep one Sapphic one in rotation constantly. So if y'all have any recommendations, any genre, I do not care. Just let me know. If there's any that you love, that you want to read yourself, if there's an author you're interested in, let me know, because there's always someone that you don't know. There's always an author you don't know that you've never come across. And so half of those were recommendations from someone else. Okay. Um, I like being here, and I like being able to talk this much. So I've got that's my New Year's goal, to spend, to try to make more videos for BookTube. And so, the usual toward the end, like, subscribe, comment, all those things. All those things. I'm out.